Hey, I'm Danielle, a techie serial entrepreneur.
Hey, I'm Cicely, a health tech nurse.
Hey, I'm Priscilla, and I'm an award-winning creative.
Welcome to the More Than Graphics podcast, a virtual safe space for women and minorities in the tech and creative industry. Together, we're that tribe. Hello, welcome everybody to the More Than Graphics podcast. I'm Danielle.
You almost said I'm Cicely. And I'm Cicely. Cicely here. Cicely and co, I should say. Cicely and the twins. We're here. We're all here.
Yes, you are live and in charge. I love it. I love it. So I just feel like it's really important that when you meet somebody and they encourage you and spark you to do cool and innovative things to better yourself and to better other people around you, you just got to pay it forward. And this is my way of like doing that all the time. So I'm super excited about this episode of Bridge. Y'all, like, Bridge is such a cool theme for this. I'm just really excited that we're here. We're talking about things out loud, and we're giving avenue and windows and doors and opportunities for spaces and people to come up in here and actually share a lot of really cool backstory, intellect, all the things. So again, our topic is Bridge. Anything new in your world before we kind of dig into that, Cicely?
Just, juggling life as usual, like excited to finally be full-time remote. So adjusting to what that's going to look like as well. But that's just about it. Just, diving in, feet first, head first, whatever. Just all the way in.
I think I feel you on that. I'm doing that a lot right now in 2025. So I feel that. All right. Would you like to introduce our guest today?
Yes, I will. I have a window of opportunity. All right. Kronda Adair is a Black lesbian dog mom who wants more Black women to rest and let the robots handle their repetitive tasks. Through her $1 million systems retainer and her Automation Club membership, she uses her knowledge and skills gained as a web developer, content marketing coach, automation service provider, and tech strategist to help overworked business owners stop buying technology and start hiring technology to build a software team that supports their business. When she's not working, she can be found enjoying time at home with her wife, cat, hiking, or doing dog sports with her two Vislas, reading, cooking delicious food, or enjoying the postcard vistas of the state of Oregon. Welcome to Kronda.
Thank you so much. That's the first time I've had my new bio read out loud. I like it. I'm going to keep that.
Yeah, girl, it's fire. I like it. I like that a lot. We have very common things. One being the postcard vistas of the state where you are. I am that for Kentucky. So I really like, I didn't think we bonded on that level even further, but here we are.
Yep.
So I love what you do. Obviously, it's very similar to things that I do, but you just on a much higher caliber. And so that's why I feel like I'm so intrigued and inspired, not only by your story, but the things that you do, the impact that you make. So I really just want to like dive right in. What are some of the biggest challenges that you faced as a woman in the systems and automation industry, and how are you able to overcome them?
So I think I started out in the sort of WordPress ecosystem, right? Making $500 websites, in 2013. And so I was very enmeshed in the WordPress community. And I live in Portland, Oregon. So it's just like white on white on white. And, I had some really, lovely opportunities to speak at a lot of WordCamps and things like that. Not one time did that actually ever result in any sort of professional advancement or clients or, it was like people came, they saw, they left, and that was pretty much it. And that's really par for the course, I think, for those types of spaces, and same thing for masterminds I was in. It's like I would watch other people hire each other back and forth. And I remember I hopped on a call with somebody and helped her through some stuff. And then she gave me, next time we were, in the same space together, she gave me a journal with a drawing of a Vishla on it. And I was like, or cash would have been great too. If you were, and it's just like, okay, whatever. And so what are you going to do? Just keep on keeping on and finding my people. And I feel like actually in the last probably 6 months of 2024 was really a pivot year for me of really figuring out what my core offerings were going to be going forward. And I feel like I've come into an era where I've really found my people. Our client roster right now is fire. They're doing amazing things. They're helping people. And not only do they hire us, but they give us what we need to actually do the work so that they can experience the benefits, which as service providers, like that's a whole thing that people don't really tell you about when you first get into it. It's like, yeah, people might give you money, but if you need things from them in order to do the work, that doesn't always happen. And I know every web developer, every automation person, every copywriter, every marketer, is out there like nodding their head like, yep. So we just have an amazing roster of clients right now. And I'm just trying to grow that and really be clear and transparent about what I'm about so that people know what they're getting when they're coming in. And to that end, I produce a ton of content. I have content going back for the whole life of my business, 11, 12 years. So if you want to go stalk me before you hire us, like there's plenty of ways to do that. You want YouTube, you want podcasts, you want what you want. Like I got whatever it is you want. And that's just my way of letting people get to know me on their own terms before, they engage in maybe working with us.
Girl, I love this. So challenge wise, I think we talk a lot about, identity not having necessarily a roadblock, but again, that road to self discovery is like the thing that alleviates the whatever it is that we were facing, right? And so we hear a lot of these stories where it's like they've redefined, not necessarily redefined, but just really kind of come to self. And because they know themselves, they know what they want and what they don't want. And so they're better able to set a more of a core set path for the things that they want to line themselves up with. So I really love the alignment that you're talking about, even in these past 6 months, even though you've been in business for over a decade, you are really honing in on these last 6 months on really that core alignment that you're talking about. I love this because I feel like there's so many of us out there right now who are just doing the dang thing. They're robotically moving the arms, moving the things. We are forgetting that we actually have souls sometimes, and we forget that the dreams that we had, put aside so that we could go make that higher paycheck or whatever, whatever we sacrificed so that we could have what we have. Sometimes that's the better thing to do is to renege on that sacrifice sometimes and kind of go backward in order to move forward. So I love that about your personal story, that you are just using these these past several months, really just kind of reinventing in a lot of areas of yourself. And for other people to see that, I think that's really kind of beautiful.
I think the other thing too, as for service providers, is just learning that client selection is pretty much everything, and that's, I had a conversation earlier today of someone who, was like wanting to know how I could potentially help her. And after she shared with me, I was like, okay, do you have a therapist? Because it sounds like it's like, it's not just like if someone comes in and they're ready, like we can move really quickly. I can build the things, we can do the things. And what blocks us from doing that a lot of times is the mindset work that hasn't been done, to make a major change. It seems simple, right? Like you come in, you're doing a bunch of manual stuff and we're going to automate it, right? That seems simple, but people get real comfortable and entrenched in the way they've always done things. And I'm like, you know what? It's not my role to carry you emotionally through that. Like you need to do that work on your own, and then we'll do the robot stuff.
Girl, you speaking all my love languages. Like, oh my goodness. Like I'm just closing my eyes like, yes, girl, yes. Okay, so I'm giggling. I'm sorry. I'm like really excited because I just feel like I am not the only one. And clearly you're not the only one. So we're not the only ones up in here that are really kind of going through those struggles, especially when it comes to, like you said, client selection. So I really just want to put out there in the world, y'all, this is like for real. This is hopefully speaking to all of you in this area. If you're a service provider and you know what that's like to carry that burden of having to pick somebody up literally and bootstrap them to whatever you need to, collectively do just so you can finish the project. I so relate to that. And I think that's a definite sign of growth when you're able to say, you know what, I'm going to choose my happiness, my over your need for this. I will sacrifice paying whatever bill that is so I can have the freedom of free thought thinking and processing on my own. So I just relate to that. Fire, 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 all of it.
But that brought up some really good things, like some really good points for me. Like I had a question I was going to ask you, and then I thought of another one based off of kind of what you said. So one of the things that I read in your biography, which is something that we talk about on a regular basis as well, is yeah, he's upset, he's real riled up about this topic, but is Black women and rest. So I'm sure you've heard like the topic circulating with Michelle Obama not going to the inauguration and
Hmm.
all that jazz. So my question for you is kind of in your own business, in your own life, as a Black woman, how did you get from I need to rest, I need to do this, I need to set boundaries, to actually building the bridge to where you are setting those boundaries and you are resting, and kind of what advice can you give to other Black women to get there as well?
So I mean, first of all, you have to have the boundaries, right? You have to know what you want the boundaries to be. I am a big fan of using automation and using technology to like enforce and set your boundaries. So I'll give you a specific example. In my own podcast, I haven't done interviews very much, but at one point I decided I only want to interview Black women on my podcast. So the form that people fill out to express interest in coming on the podcast, after name and email, the next question is, are you a Black woman or are you representing a Black woman? And if they say no, the rest of the form disappears. We're done. I don't need to get the submission. I don't need to take up my personal time to tell you, hey, nope, this is not what we're doing. Like, we're just done. So things like that are really useful to like have automations around, letting people know what your boundaries are, right? It can be part of your onboarding. You can have a welcome sequence that says, hey, this is, one thing I really struggle with still is I have sort of what we'll call it my personal work email address, right? And then I have a team address. So it's like once you become a client, all communication needs to go through the team address, because if I'm in a hammock out in the woods, I'm not checking my own email, right? And for some reason, I'm sure it's autocomplete, right? But clients have a really hard time. And so I set up, if it happens enough, I just set up a filter that automatically emails people back and says, hey, this isn't a support inbox. You need to email this one. And you just automate that. So doesn't become this thing that you have to do and be bitter about. It's just like, no, it is what it is. This is where you go to get help. So that's kind of the ways. And then as far as, rest and self-care, I'm a big fan of floating. I got a client and who became a friend who runs a float tank center. And so now that's part of my regular practice. I have a membership there. And also just indulging in the things that bring me joy, which right now is being obsessed with Wicked, learning Wicked choreography and making really terrible TikToks, like just doing, the things that like have no quote unquote value other than I enjoy them.
I'm doing all the Wicked choreography right now. It's not even
I saw
funny.
you.
Girl, I was like, come
I
on.
love that. She's like,
Yes.
Wicked, let's do it. But I really, really love that. And I think it's really important to I always joke that my son, he's always standing on business. He's 8 months old and he's standing on business already. And so I think it's really important that, like you said, with those boundaries, you put firm boundaries. I love that the form disappears. If you ain't Black, you ain't representing someone Black, like this is not the space for you. If, you need to contact me, here's the email. If you do this email, I have an auto reply that's going to send you back to the other email. Like those are the type of boundaries and the type of firm settings I like to see. And I love that you're using technology in order to be able to do that. And I think as Black women, especially in these times, we can use those tips and tricks to say, hey, you don't have to answer everything. Everything doesn't have to take up your time to do it. Automate those things, set them aside, and live your life, live your best life.
Exactly.
I love that though.
I just want to say out loud that that was incredibly awesome. I absolutely love the fact that you were unapologetically putting those things and things in place. How encouraging it is for me, someone who has been in business for 15 years, who uses automations. I have not thought once to have like a soft reject. Like I have not even thought like in my head, like we should do that. Dang, how come I hadn't done that yet? Like what where can I practice this? In my head, I'm like, where can I practice this right now? This is smart. And this is again a great way of like again staying true to your goals, true to your boundaries. We're just talking about boundaries a little bit off call here, about how important it is to set those boundaries and those intentions. More importantly.
And let me wrap that up actually and kind of bring it all together, because if you're thinking about, we've talked about client selection and how important that is, and people have all these issues, right? So when you're thinking about, I think people sleep on the strategy of form creation, right? People are like, oh, let me go to job form or fill out or whatever, make a form, make an application form. But the real magic of that is the thinking that you do ahead of time to say, what are my deal breakers? What do I ask people, such that when they answer in a certain way, I know like, oh, nope, we're done. Right. And you can just send them to the rejection pile. And so doing that thinking and asking those questions, in the case of my dog breeder, it's like, she'll be like, oh, what do you think about crates? Right. And if people are like, oh, no crates are evil. She's like, oh, nope, not my, not my people. Right. So what are those things for you? And how can you incorporate that into your client selection process where you preserve your time and your energy for the people who are going to be right for you?
Excellent point. It's like dating. You got
It
to
is.
date. You
It
got to vet them
totally
out.
is.
I love it.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm taking notes. So my thought was in this whole process, like just better understanding that you can use automation to not only bring in things, but also fine tune things. And so I need to take that lesson even internally for myself on how I can be more selective in that process. I'll be honest, for MTG, we get a lot of different types of people on this podcast. So there's a lot of white dudes that would love to have their faces out here. And don't get me wrong, we allow some of them on here. Don't get me wrong, a lot of them are nice and they're good and they're usually friends of mine. But the holistic view of someone randomly coming up in here and actually just honing in that space, there's some levels that you need to get through. We used to do a lot of pre-screen calls and stuff like that in the past. I've gotten completely away from that because it's more of, if I know you, I know you. And if you're in our circles, you're in our circles. And if you're not, then it's a hard no. It's just no. So I've done better at that. But man, let me tell you, if I could find some automations to make that like pop a little harder, I'm about to do it. I'm sorry. I'm just so inspired by that. Thank you. Thank you, Kronda, for making that so known to me. I got some cleaning to do. So when we talk about systems and automations, how can we ensure that these technologies are being used ethically and responsibly?
So one thing I say all the time is that is my motto is stop buying technology and start hiring technology. Mm-hmm. So the first thing is being more intentional and being more strategic about what it is that you actually need technology for. And so, for instance, when we have new clients or I'm doing like a power hour consult or something like that, and people want to know, like, do I have the right tech stack? Do I need to upgrade something? We're not going to talk about tech at all. We're going to talk about what are your current systems and processes that are happening in your business right now. And we're going to like digitally map those out so that you can see them outside of your tools, right? We have a great tool called Puzzle that we found last year to do that. And so then once we've mapped out those things, then we can look at the process. And with Puzzle, we're able to see like what's a manual step, what's an automated step, right? So we can now have this visual of like, oh, if you see a bunch of yellow for manual and only one automated step, then like, oh, there's some work we can do there to automate the steps. Anything where there's like a consistent input and a consistent output, that's a great key that you could probably automate that step. So then when you're looking at technology, you're looking at it just like if you were hiring a person. You've created a job description for the things that your software needs to do, and now you can go out and look at that software. And so it narrows the field down from like literally thousands of things you could choose from to, here are 3 to 5 tools that can meet these requirements. Now you can look at other things like, is it run by assholes? Like, are they going to lock your data into a black box and you can't export it? Those kinds of things, right? But first, it's like, can it do the job? And then you can look at those external factors. And one thing we've done in the past is take that list of requirements and have the client map out, okay, what's a must have and what's a nice to have, and what are some of the other considerations. So that's kind of the process that we go through in choosing software. And I have to shout out, just speaking of ethical software, which there's not a whole lot of companies that are ethics forward, I guess you would say, right? So I have to shout out MemberVault, which is a course platform run by an amazing couple, just for having walked their talk before May of 2020, if you know what I mean. So love them. And also Fern CRM, whose target audience is specifically ethical business owners. So love it when I find great software that's actually run by people who are like standing on business and walking their values. And so yeah, that's kind of my process.
We so need this. I mean, like, I just feel like overall the industry itself like needs this level of ethical intention. And so, Kronda, I love that you mentioned several different vendors who are doing that. And two, also, like, a lot of people don't even consider right now the ethicalness of it all. Let's just throw that on the table too. It's just not something that people take seriously, to invest in, or seriously enough to go toward. They just want to give me the things that I want, and until it becomes a legal issue, let me deal with it then.
Right. And a lot of times in software, you're really choosing, you're really trying to avoid the super problematic platforms versus, finding ones that are ethics forward, right? It's like, well, let me look you. Oh, you haven't done anything awful? Okay. Right? Because, with some tools, it's like you're only going to have so much choice. So it's a process for sure.
I'm laughing at you, Cicely.
Right, me cutting the eyes. We had our commentator in the back. He's the sports commentator. She's the music and entertainment commentator.
They're coming for your job.
So cute.
It's all they know at this point. Go ahead, Danielle.
Oh, okay. So we have lots more questions, but I like, we talk about bridge. This episode's called Bridge. And so we talk about bridging the gap between technology and humanity, and to create more equitable, inclusive futures. What does that look like? How can we bridge this gap?
Ever since, let's see, I'm trying to think of when I first got into technology. So I really got into sort of like the internet. So back in the 90s, it was like IRC channels, and it was like Xena Warrior Princess. They got me on the internet, and I would get in these chat rooms and like talk to people. And the thing that always excited me about the internet from the time I got involved in it is the ability to connect people together. And it was so much easier to do, obviously, before things became commercialized, and, before democracy died, and like, we're having all these challenges, but it still is one of the easiest ways to connect a bunch of disparate people in different places together. And we still have ways that we can use to do that. So that's kind of always been my driving focus when using technology, is how do we bring people together? So, even the things I talked about, boundary setting using forms and things like that, it's like the end goal is to bring you together with clients that are ideal for you, so that you can help them, move the needle on whatever it is your area of expertise is. So that's kind of my true north when thinking about technology. And and also the purpose of automation for me is to make more space for the things that humans are good at and that only humans can do. So, you know, I love it when I see people online and they're ranting about people with calendar links, right? They're offended that you have a Calendly link or a, you know, whatever it is you use because it's taking the personality out of it. And I'm like, we don't need to spend time going back and forth in email. That's not connection, right? The connection is the part where you actually find a time to get together and have that in-person conversation. So, so that's my thing, is like, let's use the technology to get to do more of the human stuff, because our lives weren't supposed to be like this, right? We weren't supposed to have this much input. We weren't supposed to be this busy, like, and so it's like piling technology on top of problems that technology created, but here we are, right? So I'm going to try to do my part to give you space. And I did a case study with a client recently where we automated their onboarding and we saved them 15 hours a week. And she literally said, I can now have date nights with my husband again. So, you know, that's what I'm trying to do, is give people the space to be human and do human things.
I so relate to this on so many levels. One, shout out to the partners who we have shadow boxed away from not having that personal 15 hours, having that personal time because we were stuck at work or we're stuck doing that extra thing, whatever. Um, but two, like I really resonate with the idea of let's get back to being human first. And I think I talk about this a lot in some of the AI presentations that I do with businesses and small business and groups about how AI just takes the ability for us to, in automations in general, gives us the ability to get back to being human. So if we can eliminate that so that we can get back to being human, I mean, what's the harm in that technology being what it is? That's the whole purpose. I do feel like that's a huge asset to using and leveraging technology in that way, especially automations. I'm a huge systems girl, and so anytime that I can save an extra 5 minutes, an extra 10 minutes, an extra 3 minutes, I'm gonna do it because I know how that stacks and adds up.
Well, and speaking of humaning, I mean, you and I met because I'm on this quest, right, to just talk to Black women business owners.
Yes.
And I just keep putting it out there, and whether it's threads or people have been introducing me to people, or, you know, and I just keep having these amazing conversations, and that leads to connection, it leads to opportunities, you know, and all of these things. And one of the things on the back end of that saves me a bunch of time is that if I have one of those calls, all of my calls that people book with me go into an Airtable database, and then I have an interface that shows me, you know, anything I want to see about that person, like what are we talking about, where do they live, all that kind of stuff. And then I have a system where right in the Airtable interface, I can write the follow-up email and click a button and hit send, and it sends the email. So I'm not context switching. I'm not going over to my email and then getting caught up in like, oh, look, there's this. Oh, look, there's this thing. You know, like it's like call ends right while it's fresh in my head. I'm like, oh, I said I'd send you this link or this YouTube video or this whatever. And then it sends, and then I move on with my day. But then I've like kind of closed the loop on that connection by sending that follow-up and resources and whatever. So that's one of the ways, you know, that you can use systems to increase connection while saving yourself time. And I have to shout out Ashley Rose over at Systems Over Stress, who taught me that particular trick.
Yes, I can't wait to put her in the show notes. Her link specifically. You actually brought that to my attention, and I checked that out entirely. And now I'm like, okay, follow all the things. So I'm already doing that hardcore. I absolutely love systems and I love automations. And you mentioned Puzzle as one as a great resource for that. Are there any other ones that you can think of, like resource-wise, that you feel will be a great place for people to start with automation?
I mean, I always start, if you're brand new to automation, I always tell people start with the calendar link, right? Start with the, you know, it amazes me. I have a company that I'm contracting with, a big company, like, you know, almost 20-year-old company. And we're still doing like, are you free on this day? And I'm like, what are we doing? People, what are we doing? So if you're brand new to automation, you feel like it's overwhelming, I always say, just start with the calendar link, because in business, it's all about relationships. And so you're going to need to talk to people. You're going to have sales calls or networking calls or whatever it is. And so smooth out that process for yourself to start. And then you can add and layer on to it, from there. I would say the next thing would be, if you're building your email list, which you absolutely should be, make sure you have some sort of automated welcome sequence. So people are all hyped to like learn more about you and they sign up, and then it's crickets until 6 months down the road when you get to sending an email. So those are kind of the two beginner automations I think that everybody should definitely have.
I love that. It's like AI light, automation light. I love that.
Totally.
I love that. That brings me to a question about just in general, kind of what role do you see women playing in shaping the future of systems and automation? Like how can people like you who are kind of at the forefront, who are innovators in this field, how can you empower them? Excuse me, I can't talk today. To take on leadership roles, or how can you just empower women in this field in general?
Like women are the ones making the world go round. I mean, things would fall apart if we weren't doing so. So like recognizing that everything is a system. I mean, how you brush your teeth is a system. How you get your kid ready for school is a system. How you get ready to walk your dog is a system. You have a series of steps that lead to an outcome. And so if you start to think about what are those steps, how can I improve those steps? And kind of embrace your identity. People, I think we tend to box ourselves in by saying like, oh, I'm not a tech person, or I'm tech phobic, or I'm, so like to stop labeling ourselves and just to start embracing and asking the questions of like, oh, okay, I have this series of steps to do this task. What's one thing that I could do to improve it? So getting out of that box and really embracing your ability to think in systems and to, identify steps and to make improvements. And the other thing is to just like, please, can we kick imposter syndrome to the curb? Because it's not, especially for Black women, women of color, any marginalized folks, right? It's not really real. It's just shit that the patriarchy has put on us, telling us that we're less than, that we can't do, that we're not as good, when actually we're like 5 times as good because we had to be just to get into the spaces that we're in. Like, I literally just saw, I think it was a thread about some guy who said he spoke 3 languages plus like 3 spoken languages plus ASL, and then Google translated his way through a year in this job until they found him out. And I was like, fuck imposter syndrome, okay? Like, no, absolutely not. Like, so embrace your expertise, even if you don't consider yourself an expert, like if we encounter something and we're like, oh, I don't know a lot about this, but it needs to get done, don't you know we'll find a way to get it done? So can we just embrace our fabulousness and our power and like take the credit for doing the thing, and being willing to step out and do the things. And I think that's what's gonna help advance, the industry, society, whatever, is to stop sleeping on ourselves.
Ooh, hashtag stop sleeping on ourselves.
Yes, okay. You got my girl riled up. She's ready. She's ready to go.
She was bouncing. She was like, say that.
She was. She was like, oh, okay. Oh, I love that you mentioned. Oh, girl, yep, she's into it. Girl,
that was for you, baby.
I love that you mentioned that, especially about imposter syndrome, because I think I realized this too. Like, I'm 36 now, so, and I'm gonna be 37 soon, which is crazy to me. But like, I realized probably right at the cusp of my 30s that like, literally, there's nothing I can't do. Like, why have I been afraid? Why have I been scared? Why have I not thought I was good enough to do these things, or thought I wasn't qualified? Because just like you said, Black women, like, we come from a lineage of women and people who are going to find a way. Like, they say making a way out of no way. We find a way. So why would that be limited to? Yeah, ma'am. She's riled up now. So why would that be limited to just, surviving, or just, doing things around the house? That's limited to the trajectory of our whole lives, to our kids' lives, to bettering, everything that we touch. So it's really crazy when you say it like that. Like, Yeah, what are we afraid of? Like, we know. I mean, we ain't even got to pretend to know three languages because we know six. Like, what are you talking about? So I love, love, love that you said that. And I think it's very empowering to hear women talk about that and really come into that and understand that we do really make the world go round and nothing would happen without women and that we have to live in that. And we know that Black women are just, the blueprint, the catalyst, the movement. We are her. We are she. So
All of
I
it
thank you
and a
for
bag
pointing
of
that
chips.
out. Yes, ma'am. And
Yes.
see, even little babies, even 8 month old babies know. Even they know that she knows her power already. She already knows. She's with it.
Yeah, the trick is not to forget.
Yes. Mm. Yes. So good. Amen. That's all I can say. I wasn't planning on having church, but we just so close. So I absolutely love this. This is, I mean, I'm really encouraged. I'm inspired by everything we're sharing today. And then I want to dig a little bit further because I know your background's a little different from mine. So, how does your cultural background or lived experiences influence your approach to systems and automation?
Oh man. I mean, I have a reputation for dragging people. Um, so I was and it's become this thing. I think I've backed off a little bit in the last year or so, but there was a time, I mean, if you go um early on, I remember having a client and she wanted to use GoDaddy as her host. And I remember it took me literally 5 hours to do this thing in trying to launch her site that would have taken me 15 minutes on any other host. And I wrote this blog post like why I don't use GoDaddy and you shouldn't either. And it was my first time really putting a stake in the ground and drawing a line in the sand and saying, if it's so important to you to have this thing, Godspeed and good luck. you know? Um, and so I think I come from a long line of women who are very, very strong and have gone through some shit. And my mom always modeled like how she expected people to treat her with respect. And I think I bring that into my work and my life in general. And so a lot of my content is very opinionated. And it's not to say like, hey, you know what? If you want to use Wix, like good luck and Godspeed. It's just not, we're just not going to work together. Right. So I'm not saying everybody has to do what I do. I'm just saying if you want to work together, these are the things, these are my deal breakers. And I had a series for a while on social media called Uncomfortable Truth Thursdays. I think I modeled it off of Throwback Thursdays. And I was just like, yeah, forget a throwback. We're just going to throw out some things that y'all need to hear. So that's really a strong part of my brand is like everybody knows they're going to get the straight shooter. I'm not going to lie about what it's going to take to get to whatever, whatever goal you say you have. I'm going to be upfront and say, like, I just had a client meeting today where I was like, hey, you know what? I know you want like you're reporting inside of Active Campaign, but guess what? Their reporting sucks. And here's another, like, here's the way that I do it so that it doesn't suck. And so I'm not just going to shine people on and tell them what they want to hear. And I think that's just always been a really strong part of my brand because that's just my personality.
Man, we're not so different. Dang it. Okay, so I love this because I feel like this is where I've been able to really push myself forward in the business for a while because of this angle, this unrivaled truth. I'm living in my truth. I'm sharing my truth kind of window. And I feel like in the area, especially of systems and automations, I've been leaning more on this unapologetic. If it don't fit the criteria, it don't fit. Like I'm not gonna put the square in the circle. This is dumb. So I really, really, really value hearing it from other people who just like that ain't for me. And I love the fact too that when you talk about a lot of the cultural background, you growing up with a mom who who knew how to carry or wanted, had a certain type of repertoire, if you will, a level, a standard of how she wanted to be respected. I think that is so endearing. And I think reflective of a lot of people of color who are listening to this podcast who also have come with that upbringing, or they better understand this is the level criteria which I will command and demand respect. And then from there, it's just unexcusable. And so when I see that from other people, and for other people who don't have that criteria yet, this is such a great window opener like for that. And so I'm just so like thankful for people who get up here and tell their truth and tell it unapologetically. This is who I am. This is my standard. Get on it or leave it, kind of feel. So I'm so about that in 2025. So hardcore right now. I am like literally get on my level or bye.
For real. For real. Yep.
I love it. It's the season of rest. It's the season of rest and bridging into who we're supposed to be. And I love how Black women, we're just not with it anymore. Like, I love to see the ball being dropped on things that we've been already carrying, and we're just like, we're not going to do it. I love it. I love to see it. It's beautiful work. We added the testosterone back into the show now, so this is her brother. This is Mr. Standing on Business himself.
Oh my goodness.
I would just say, like, one of the things that you kind of mentioned at the beginning, was kind of around pay. Like, I love talking about pay and money. I love it. Danielle knows it's one of my favorite things in the world. Just because, like I said, kind of in my 30s, I've realized that, like, I'm not going to accept what you give me. I'm going to ask what I think I can get. And then if I can get more, I'm gonna put a little bit more on top of that, sprinkle some razzle dazzle and see what happens. So you kind of mentioned like that, at that point in your career, you were like kind of struggling to actually get paid and get, your worth. So what advice would you give someone like when they're kind of struggling with prices? I see that a lot with women, especially. Gosh, I hate to see it. Like, oh, I think it's too high. And like, a man's going to charge 5 times that and be getting business and living their best lives and building businesses. So how, especially with Black women, do you kind of like, I guess, how did you get over like the pricing and like making sure that you were affordable, or, being, basically trying to help as many people as you could, but also getting what that you're worth and getting paid for the work that you do the same way that your peers do? How did you go about that? And how do you now feel comfortable navigating those conversations?
Yeah. I think no matter how much advice I'm about to give, it's always going to be a journey because it's a mental game, right? So that's part of it, but also understand that somebody is out there making 2, 3, 4, 5 times what you're making for the same work because they asked. Now I'm going to qualify that because as Black women, people are going to do they're going to jump through hoops and do backflips to not pay us and not pay us the same. So that is real. And I don't want us to gaslight ourselves about that, but you can still ask. And sometimes you're going to get it. And one of the lessons I learned early on was it's not about what you do, it's about who you do it for. So it's not just, can you do the thing? It's where are the people who value the thing? So something I'm going to talk about all day long is process documentation, right? Being able to, if the only place you can see your emails is inside MailerLite or ActiveCampaign, that's a problem. If the only way your customer journey is to go, opt in with your fake email, that's a problem. So we're always going to be mapping. We're always going to be documenting things. And for so long, I had clients or people around me who didn't value that. And so now, that's something that I talk about a lot. And now I'm getting into the circles where the systems girlies are, and they're like, I'll show them Puzzle, or I'll show them how we use Airtable. And it's just like mind blown. Like, I had a conversation where I really showed what I was doing with Puzzle to someone. And she's like, I've seen you talk about this, but now that I see that, like, she was silent. I'm like, you're writing a breakup text to Miro in your head right now. And so finding people who are not just like, oh yeah, that's cool, but who are like, wow, this is amazing. Where have you been all my life? I literally had somebody leave me an 8-minute voice note after I sent her one of my YouTube videos. And she's like, I needed all this 5 years ago. Like, when can we start? So that's the energy that you're looking for. And it's like dating. You're going to like kiss all these frogs, right? And if you talk to too many of the people who don't value what you do, that's when you get into trouble and it gets hard to sell. When you get those people who are like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then you do the thing and they're like, this is life-changing. And they tell people about it. And they like, that just starts the virtuous cycle of like, oh yeah, I am the shit. Let me go out and find some more people who need this. So you have to kind of guard yourself and you have to be careful, like where you're putting your energy, and you have to sift through and find those people. And in the beginning, you don't necessarily know those people are out there. Right? So just know they're out there. And when you find your people, they're not going to quibble you about your prices. They're just going to be like, where do I start? Here's my credit card. Like, let's go. I literally had a guy find my YouTube channel, binge it, book a call, and become a client in 5 days. It was a guy in the UK with a dermatology clinic. Like, we've never served that industry, but he saw my content and was like, yep, that's the one. And we were off to the races.
That is so inspirational. I love that. And I think that's so true. Like when you're talking specifically around areas of, finding, sifting through, like that is such a key component. I feel like, especially in these tech and creative industry jobs, period. Like we are constantly sifting and wading through things to get to these gems or jewels or things that we think are shiny for us. And so I am really always trying to find, words of wisdom and advice for not only for myself, because I'm just a knowledge seeker, but for all these other women out there who have not yet made the ask, but here we are providing anyway. Like,
yeah.
Y'all.
And I mean, this is why I produce so much content too, is because it doesn't always have to be you sifting through people. It could be you putting out your content and letting other people find and sift through and find you. And then you don't have to do all that work, right? It's a two-way street.
Yes, these are things I'm learning. I'm working on my YouTube channel. Thank you. Thank you for the hard nudge. Like, girl, what you doing over here? I'm working on it. Yes, thank you. I really love this. I love this whole conversation. Thank you so much. Like,
thank you so much.
This has been therapy for me.
Yeah, I love it. I love the hard hitting advice. I love the gentle nudges, as Danielle called them. I call them pushes. I love the pushes. It has been amazing.
Okay, for people who want to find you, people who want to follow the content so they can hire you, right? Maybe it'll be a 3-day thing instead of a 5-day thing. Where can they find you and invest in you?
The best place to start is my website, Carvel Digital. Start with the website. From there, you can get to the YouTube channel, the podcast, Begin As You Mean to Go On. And yeah, I think most socially right now, I'm hanging out on Threads. I'm dipping my toe into Blue Sky, but I haven't gone all the way there yet. So yeah, I just I've changed my marketing, and maybe it was a bad time to do this, but I got rid of my sort of freebie email list. So there's no because it doesn't help people to sit on my email list for 5 years before they get help. It's like, just get help. So Automation Club is kind of where it's kind of a good on-ramp for people because it's free for 30 days. So it's like, if you need help, come get help. I'm like, if you wanted to, you would. That's kind of how I'm approaching my marketing. So it's like, these are the ways I help you. If you see one you need, come get it. And my email list is made up of like clients and customers at this point. So yeah, it's the times we're navigating. It's really weird, but that's why I like giving back to just having these conversations. If you're a Black woman and you want to get on the Black woman calendar,
yes,
you can hit me up and we can do that. So
I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay. So we'll put all of your contact information, your socials, all the things in our show notes. Be sure to look out for those. And I think we're ready to move on to our flash guest questionnaire. Are you ready for this?
Okay. Ready as I'll ever be.
So we just want you to say the first thing that comes to your mind.
Tell us about a design project that went hilariously wrong. What happened and what did you learn from it?
Okay, well, I'll modify to development project because but one of my first clients disappeared for 2 years and then came back all hot to trot, like, oh, can we have the website next month? And I'm like, excuse you, ma'am. Like, you've been gone for 2 years. You need to get in line. And I had to just be ruthless and go back to the contract and be like, okay, what deliverables did I promise these people? And then just knock them out. And even after I delivered it, like, I would say for probably 3 or 4 years, I would just get random emails from them like, hey, do you have this photograph of this? And I'm like, ma'am, no. So it was a very early lesson in boundary setting, and it was a wild ride for sure.
Absolutely nuts. Completely nuts.
Y'all, I'm so glad I was muted because I was cussing. That was bad. Like,
The
what?
audacity, though. The audacity.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Mm, that's
It's
done.
terrible. It is awful. So next question. What's your secret source of inspiration when you're feeling creatively drained? Where do you go and what do you do to recharge?
I am usually binge watching some form of TV, movie, something. So right now it's Wicked. I have a whole post about Wicked related to business and the ability to be bad at things. Um, for a while it was Grimm, which was filmed in my city. So I was
That's
like,
right. Oh my gosh,
yeah,
Grim.
I watched
Oh.
I watched it originally, and then I take my dogs to the park where there's like a plaque of Grimm and they film there, and I was like, I should watch this again. I ended up binging the whole series like 2 or 3 more times. And I'm one of those people, like, I'm a content girly. I ran a content boot camp for a while, so I can literally take anything, any show, any scenario, and like make some kind of business connection. So I just take my inspiration from everywhere. One thing that's inspiring right now is just like, I'm obsessed with Cynthia Erivo and just the level of craft and dedication and commitment that she brings to her work that allows her to sing and fly. You know, like that could be inspiration for whatever it is she probably can't make an Airtable bass like me, but like I can take that kind of pride and care in like the things that I'm building for people to make their businesses and lives easier. And so that's one thing that's really inspiring me right now.
That's amazing. I really love that you can kind of blend in everyday things and make it relatable to just about anyone. You don't have to be in design, you don't have to be in automation, don't have to be in marketing, but it can be relatable. I love that. Um, Another one that'll bring out your creative juices. If you were stranded on a desert island and could only bring three tools, digital or physical, what would they be and why?
Puzzle, Airtable, and Active Campaign.
Man, we ain't no Wi-Fi signal. We can bring one of those, right? She
The
got several
Wi-Fi's
right.
already there. The
I
Wi-Fi's
went
there.
with digital as a category. If we have physical, I'd have to think harder. But digital, that's easy.
Okay, I love it. So if you could travel back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh man. I I would probably give myself a lot of the advice that I have said in this podcast about client selection, because I feel like most of my business woes have come from that. But also, I would probably encourage my sister to become a flight attendant sooner so that I could get those flight bennies while I was like single and unencumbered.
Very valid. I love that. Very valid. I'm not mad at you for it. And last question for you. What's the most unusual or unexpected place you'd love to create work? So this can be beyond a canvas or a screen.
Mm. Um, I mean, I don't know if it's unusual, but I really like, people have invited me to do sort of like panels and things like that. And I really am not excited about anything where I'm physically with a group of people just talking at them. I'm like, let's do some work. Let's let you leave here with something that will actually make your life better. So that's why Automation Club is now structured around co-working sessions, because it's like, people don't need another course and they don't need another consultant. You need to get this shit done. And so I finally was just like, fine, let's just get together for 2 hours and like get this shit done, you know, and I'll support you. So I really like the idea of, you know, I was like, I'll do a workshop all day and like help you build something that you can actually leave here with that is helpful for you. But I don't like yapping at people in person just to be yapping.
I love that. We have to yap with purpose. But it also,
Right?
it made me think, like, because I'm ridiculous and I love Denzel Washington. Have you ever seen the clip where he's like, I'm leaving here with something? That's what it reminded me of.
No, but I'm
It
gonna
is
go
so
look it up
good.
now.
You have to look it up. But he's doing an interview and he's like, you know, I'm from around the way. I'm leaving here with something. And then like it wasn't like anything. It was like nothing illegal. It was like food or something. But he's like, I'm leaving here with something. And he was so serious. And every time like I see something or like I'm somewhere, like that's what I think. I'd be like, I'm leaving here with something.
Yep,
So
that's
you
right.
reminded
Okay.
me.
Thank you. I'm gonna go look that up, and that's gonna be my new motto. I'm leaving here with
Please look it up. It's gonna be your motto.
Or
That's my motto.
on the flip side, I'm leaving you with something. Like that's really what I want.
Right.
Like,
Oh yes.
you're
Yes.
gonna leave here
Very
with
good.
something.
Oh man. Y'all
Right.
like all the Black Girl Magic feels. This has been so
Yes.
good medicine overall. Thank you, Kronda Adair, everybody. Like, thank you. This has been really, very helpful, very insightful, and just all the good girl feels. Like, thank you.
Thank you so much. This was amazing.
This tribe with a vibe needs you. Share MTG on social media, on your lunch break with peers, or send an episode to your techie bestie. This podcast is produced by Octane Design Studios. Catch you next time.